a tremendous honor and a pleasure to have Professor Roberto Esposito visiting us from Naples, actually from UC Irvine, on his way to UCLA. But he graciously agreed to stop over. I would simply say that I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that Roberto's work has reshaped the way we think about the political. He's written on many, many things, from Machiavelli to Rousseau to Hannah Arendt, Simone Weil, etc. But above all, probably the so-called trilogy of his works, as it's often referred to, Communitas, and Bios, have really been perhaps the most important group of works to have come out in the recent period. Incredibly important and have irreversibly transformed critical discourse and critical theory. So it's a very great honor, and I just want to say that we are additionally honored to have as his official translator, Professor Timothy Campbell from Cornell, who's not only
embarrassed.
Who's not only an absolutely superb translator, but also a very important thinker of the biopolitical in his own right. So hopefully we'll have a wonderful discussion. And the way it's going to work is Roberto will read his talk in English, and then we will follow that with a period of questions and answers. I hope there are questions. Not manifestos. And that's what they got it. Roberto will answer in Italian, and Tim will translate. That's just for comfort and precision. So without any further ado, I introduce to you Professor Roberto Esposito.
Thanks so much, Professor Montag, for this invitation. Thank you for being here. I apologize for my English, my Neapolitan English. So, immunization and violence. In a text dedicated to Kant as interpreter of the Enlightenment, Michel Foucault locates the test of contemporary philosophy in a clear stance. That stance concerns the tact and acute relation with the present that he calls ontology of the actuality. How are we to understand the phrase? What does it mean to situate philosophy on the point or line in which the present is revealed in the density of its own historical being? Properly speaking, what does an ontology of the actuality means? Above all, the expression alludes to a change in perspective in ourselves. To be in relation ontologically with the present means to think modernity no longer as an epoch between others, but as a stance, a posture, a will to see one's own present as a task. There is in this choice something, let's call it a tension or an impulse, that Foucault calls an ethos, which moves beyond even the Hegelian definition of philosophy as the proper time spent in thought, because such an ethos makes thought the lever that lifts the present out of a linear continuity with time, keeping the present suspended between deciding what we are and what we can become. In the case of Kant, his support of the Enlightenment didn't mean only remaining faithful to certain ideas, affirming the autonomy of man, for instance, but most of all in activating a permanent critique of the present, not abandoning the present in favor of an unattainable utopia, but inverting the notion of the possible that is contained within the present, making the present the key for a different reading of reality. Such is the task of philosophy as ontology of the actuality. On the level of analysis, locating the difference between what is essential and what is contingent, difference between superficial effect and the profound dynamics that move things, that transform lives and mark existences. We are concerned here with the moment, the critical threshold from which today's news takes on the breath of history. What is placed in being is an underlying question on the meaning of what we call today. What does today mean? What essentially characterizes today, the contradictions and potentialities of today? Yet this question doesn't exhaust at all the task of the ontology of the present. The task isn't anything other than the condition for posing another question, which takes the form of a choice and a decision. What in the present does thought need to assume as given, and what else as aim? What other latent possibilities can be released? What part of the present can one align oneself with, for which one takes a risk, on which one places one bets? Thought must not be limited only to describing what is, the lines or force that traverse our age. Rather, thought as to identify in our present the epicenter of a comparison and the conflict between different perspectives that differ and are juxtaposed within which the present is already situated. Thought is always situated on the moving border between inside and outside, between process and event, between the real and the possible. This border, this limit, this front line is the same side occupied by philosophy, philosophy's horizon of meaning and philosophy's contemporary destiny. Over the years, my work has emerged out of this question and this choice. It concerns the attempt, anything but easy, of finding the key worlds and paradigm around which the coordinates of a certain historical moment can be structured, even if such coordinates are not in a form visible to the naked eye. This is the question with which I began and which I attempt to respond to. What are the conflicts, the traumas, the nightmares, but also the demands, the hopes that characterize our age so profoundly? I have sketched this key world and this general paradigm in the category of immunity and immunization. What do they mean? We all know that in biomedical language, by immunity, one understands a form of exemption or protection that concerns an infection, while in the juridical lexicon, immunity represents a sort of safeguard that makes one untouchable with respect to common law. In both cases, therefore, immunization alludes to a particular situation that keeps someone safe from the risks to which he or she is exposed and to which the entire community is exposed. Here is delineated beforehand that underlying opposition between community and immunity from which my own recent reflections are born. Without lingering over the details of a complex etymological questions, let's say that immunity, or in its Latin formulation, immunity,